Welcome to Hope is Here, bringing hope to those struggling with life's difficult situations.
Welcome to Hope is Here. My name is GregJHorn. We are in Duluth, Georgia, right outside of Atlanta for the Christian Product Expo. Hundreds of authors from all over the country here in Georgia for the Christian Product Expo. And man, we have been so blessed to talk with some of the authors of some of these wonderful books. And today is going to be joining us is John Galanti. He is an author of a book called He's Got Your Six, Healing Through Biblical Principles. And so, John, thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule and coming up from Florida and joining us for Hope is Here, man.
Hey, Greg, thank you so much for having me on. I'm truly blessed and appreciate it.
Well, I'm looking forward to you sharing some of your story and what God gave you in this. First of all, I want to thank you for your service in the military. You served in the U.S. Navy before discovering a deeper call to help others find peace in Jesus. And now you travel, you speak, you mentor, teaching believers. And I love this, how to fight and win, because the fact of the matter is, man, we're all in a spiritual battle, right?
We are, and God's given us the tools. It's just being able to understand where to find those tools and understand the tactics. And coming from a military background, understanding the tactics, understanding what you're up against is the most important thing. Is the way I looked at it. So when I started really digging into the Bible and understanding that this is set up the same way, just as any battle, whether it's at work, whether it's at family, whether it's in the military, is knowing what's coming before it's coming and preparing for it.
I love that. We're going to get more detail in that later today and tomorrow for sure. But talk to us a little bit. First of all, thank you for your service in the military.
Thank
but
you.
Share a little bit about your military background. Share about yourself and your testimony. Give us people a little foundation for who John Galanti is.
Yeah, I grew up in a little town outside of Philadelphia, right born in Camden, New Jersey, a pretty rough area, and had a good upbringing, close family, but went through a lot of trials, as a young guy, and seen my share of some rough times. That led me to go into the military, and there was a specific instance that where you finally know you hit rock bottom. And I didn't grow up with a lot of faith, and believed in God, believed in Jesus, but didn't follow it. One night when things were just falling apart, I walked into this little church, and I was 18 years old, and just sat in the back, didn't talk to really anybody except for Jesus, and I just said, if you're there, I give myself to you, and didn't even know what I was doing, I'll be honest with you. And I left, and within a week later, I joined the military to straighten my life out. Got me out of a lot of the trouble I was in, and that was, I wish I can say that at that point I understood, but I didn't continue to follow God. I just, followed my career in the military, then got out and went to work, raised a family, did all that. Never gave credit to that day till I was older and understanding what it meant when you do surrender to God.
Well, what branch of the military did you serve in, and where were you stationed, some of the places?
I was in the Navy, blessed to be able to get the USS Missouri. It was the ship that they ended World War II on. We're coming up on the 80th anniversary that they're going to be doing that in September. And so we were the recommissioning crew stationed in San Diego, and it opened my eyes to a whole different world, being from where I grew up to going to San Diego.
I can imagine.
I was so glad the whole world wasn't like New Jersey.
I can imagine, and I'm a little envious. San Diego's on my bucket list. I haven't been there yet, so I hope to get to experience that sometime. But all right, well, I appreciate your service once again. Okay, so you tell us a little bit about your faith journey. I love that, just how God was pursuing you and did that through the military, father, a husband, all that. What led you to write this book, He's Got Your Six, Healing Through Biblical Principles?
Well, I sit on the board. I'm a vice president of a board called a charity called DDS for Vets, and we train service dogs. And I kept seeing the impact of the service dog, which was substantial. And then I started thinking there's so many resources for these veterans. And I was watching the Tunnels for Towers commercial, of all things, one day, and I saw one of the veterans, and I was watching, and he was excited about that day. He's getting a house, it's an exciting thing. And I kept thinking, what happens when the cameras are gone and all the excitement's gone? He's still there with his thoughts, and we see the suicide rates going up, and depression and anxiety, and And I see it, especially with DDS for Vets, and we still see that there was a big missing. And I just remember saying, like, what's missing? And right away it just came on me that God. And I'm not a writer at all. I've actually been in the beer business for 38 years. So God uses some unlikely people. And I just have a heart for God and a heart for people, and seeing it broken like that. And he opened up my eyes to try to look at what are the tactics that we're missing. And I was there myself. I was broken, and how God restored me by surrender.
Well, talk a little bit about that surrender part of it. Share with us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I remember distinctly for me, there was, I went and got baptized. My wife and I have had a really great journey together for the last 8 years, really. Before that, we believed in God, but it was about 8 years ago. We got baptized in the ocean, and that was a pivotal moment. But a few months later, there was still a lot going on in my life, and I didn't let go. I felt like there was a weight that was just dragging me down as far as you can go. And I remember the verse of Matthew 11:28, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." And I walked out into my garage, and I put my hands up against the workbench, and I said, well, God, you promised that you would lift these burdens and you would give us rest. And sure enough, I literally felt lighter. And that made me want to share with everybody. That's all we have to do is come to him and ask and surrender, to truly surrender. And that's I guess a curse word towards men, right? That was not something you didn't, as a military guy, you don't think of surrender as a positive. What a positive. And once people understand it, it's something you do daily. I know I do. And trying to get, other men to understand that this is the path. This is the way that's going to heal you away from the worldly things that we try for healing. And we try all kind of paths. And we've seen them, every one of them. You can see guys with drug addiction, alcohol addiction, and power, and wanting money and fame, and work, and throwing himself into food, every kind of thing. A lot of times I'll say to that guy, you tried everything else, why don't you try Jesus now?
I love it. Well, I'm so glad you mentioned that word surrender. That's kind of been a theme throughout the past couple of days that we've been here at the Christian Product Expo, and you nailed it. I mean, in the military, surrender means defeat. If you surrender for men, sign of weakness. And yet, I don't know about you, but I've found that's really where strength begins, when you surrender to Jesus. Have you found that to be true in your life and with guys you've worked with?
Absolutely. It's when I understood what meekness was strength under control. And it was something to me that being able to go in with a clear head, a clear mission, and have that strength that's under control and that guidance. But one of the bigger things that I found was it was the only time I was able to find what contentment meant, and to be content through that surrender. Because contentment is the thing that's the hardest thing to find when you're off track, and you try all different kinds of paths. And I know, I speak from experience, because I've tried that. I try to throw myself into work and advancement and moving up and trying to, get a bigger house, get more money, or any of those kind of things. And it's obviously not the answer. We see that in the world.
Just tuned in, we're talking to author John Galanti. He's got a wonderful new book out called He's Got Your Six, Healing Through Biblical Principles. We're going to be getting more into those principles tomorrow. And, one of the things you talked about, that word meekness. I was a guest on a friend of mine's TV program, and he always had a word for the day, and he gave me that word meekness. I'm like, really? Come on, man. And then when I got the actual definition, strength under control, and, Jesus talked to us about being meek. But, for us guys to be meek, to have strength under control, it really does require surrendering to Jesus each day, doesn't it?
It does. And a lot of people think it's easy, and I don't ever like to have that false pretense. It does take a lot of effort. It takes a lot of work. Anything that we're going to strive to be good at and to understand, it takes effort, it takes work. You didn't go in the military, and then all of a sudden you made captain. You went in there, you worked for it. Or if you go for a job, you work up your way up the ladder, you work hard. It's the same thing. I've talked about a daily routine for the longest time. I wanted to call it like boot camp with God, but a daily routine. And when you get away from that routine, you separate from God, and that's where the problems happen. If you're with them, every step of the way, there's no separation, and you stay on track a lot easier.
All right, got to ask you, how'd you get this title? He's got your six. How'd you come up with that?
Just knowing that God has our back. I mean, I always studied a lot of military history, read a lot of military books, and I thought to myself, who else would I want to have my back? Who do I want to have my six? No, I absolutely loved all the guys I was served with, and glad they had my back. But there's nobody more that I want to have my back than God. And it just came upon me out of nowhere. And I didn't have to go through a bunch of titles. This one was just like, no, it's going to be He's Got Your Six. And the Word and Spirit publisher, he loved it right off the bat.
Oh, I can understand why. I know it caught my attention when I saw it come through out of the hundreds of titles we've seen here at the Christian Product Expo. Well, you chose your title. How'd you go about picking the chapters for this book?
Well, the first thing I understood is that, and I start the book off with why to believe. And I even say after they read all, because there's nothing wrong with knowing the facts of faith. Like some people say, I just have faith. And that's great if you could just have faith. But the Bible put a lot of details and a lot of facts and a lot of prophecies and a lot of things that are good to look into. Some people are a little more analytical and they want to see that. So after I point a lot of that out, I figured you have to believe first. And I even say, if you're finished this chapter and you don't believe, don't bother reading the rest of the book, because it's not going to do you any good. You have to be able to believe before you're going to be able to be healed. And the whole purpose is to heal, and to heal the hurting that we're seeing, not just military. You see it in every aspect of life these days, and it breaks my heart. And I always said, if I had an antidote in my pocket to save somebody's life and I didn't use it, what kind of person would I be? And here it is that we know that we can give salvation to somebody, the best way to save their life for eternity. What kind of person would I be if I didn't share that?
Well, I love that. You start with the foundation until you believe. And one of the things I've seen, God didn't call me into ministry until my mid-30s, and what I've seen and know in my own life, it led me to the point, and so many others now, mentoring, counseling, meeting with guys, hundreds of guys over the past 22 years, is that a lot of times we have one knee down, but, we haven't put the other knee down that, till we get to the end of ourselves and say, okay, God, I've tried it my way. I got both knees down, lift your hands up. And that's when we really start to believe. Have you seen that in your life and other guys you've worked with?
Absolutely. And I see guys who just have a hard time putting both knees down, and then they wonder why they're not healing. And I said, well, it's the ball's in your court. It's up to you at this point. If you're ready to take that next step, God's waiting for you. But it's an action word. God wants our participation in it, and then He's going to open those doors for you. But that is going to be the key, is you taking that step.
Well, I love that. No decision is a decision, and yet when you make that decision to fully surrender, put both knees down, that's when God shows up and He does His work. Well, unfortunately, we're out of time, but the good news is John's going to be back with us tomorrow, and we're going to dive into some of these healing principles through this wonderful book he's got called He's Got Your Six. I know that you're going to be blessed by it. I also want to encourage you to go to his website, he'sgotyoursix.com. The site provides tools to help people heal and be content. He talks about taking your commitment and dedication to get yourself on the narrow path, and once you do, he says it's worth the time and effort that you put in, and he helps you train for the spiritual enemy that we all deal with between good and evil. So hope you go check out John's website, he'sgotyoursix.com. So hope you'll join us again tomorrow as we continue our conversation with author John Galanti of his book He's Got Your Six, Healing Through Biblical Principles on Hope is Here.
Thank you for listening to Hope is Here podcast. To listen to one of our previous programs or to make a tax-deductible donation, please go to our website, hopeishere.today. That's hopeishere.today.
Need something dry cleaned or embroidered? Look no further than locally owned Superior Dry Cleaners and Embroidery. Conveniently located on Versailles Road with almost 50 years of experience, you can trust Superior to do a great job with any dry cleaning or embroidery needs you have. Support your local family-owned Superior Dry Cleaners and Embroidery. Call them at 859-255-3778. Again, for any dry cleaning or embroidery needs, call 859-255-3778.